Welcome, everybody. This is the 72nd annual meeting of the Wayne County SWCD, that's the Soil and Water Conservation District. Thank you all for coming to this meeting. I am Steve Hayes Jr. I am the current chairman of the Wayne County Soil and Water Board. We hope you'll take the opportunity to review our annual report and familiarize yourself with the candidates for election of supervisors tonight, if you have not already done so. We would like to start the evening tonight by recognizing these guests, and if they'll please stand. Debbie Berry, Wayne County Clerk of Courts. Betty Smith Henson, Wayne County Assessor. Susan Isaacs, Wayne County Township Trustee. County Commissioners that are here this evening, that's Mary Ann Butters and Denny Burns. County Council that are here this evening, that's Mr. Jeff Pilaster, Beth Leisure, Chris Beeson, Gary Saunders, and Roger Smith. I would like to thank our public officials for their support. Thank you. We also have with us this evening local Wayne County FFA chapters. If they would also please stand. This is the Wayne County, Western Wayne, Cambridge City. And thank you. And Northeastern, Fountain City, please stand. I encourage each of you to take time and see what these local FFA chapters have accomplished in 2019 and what they have planned for 2020. We would also like to recognize, and please stand, Nancy Best, County Executive Director for Farm Service Agency, Vince Pitstick, District Conservationist for Natural Resource Conservation Service, and Monica Poehler, Resource Specialist for the Indiana State Department of Agriculture. Thank you. Before we begin dinner, I would like to thank Infinite Print Solutions for printing our tickets, Jack Daggy Flowers for the beautiful centerpieces, Rims Catering for providing this wonderful meal, and Farm Credit Mid-America and Harvest Land Co-op for their generous donations. Thank you. We are glad that all of you are here with us this evening. And at this time, I would like to introduce Reverend Bud Parrish for the invocation.
Actually, I want to start out tonight by sharing a verse of scripture that I found. Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 27 says this: "Prepare your outside work, make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterward build your house." That's in the Bible, folks. Loose Parish translation is this: if you expect to live off the land, you better take care of it. I just wanted to say, I'm happy to be amongst a group of people who are actually taking care of the land. And with that, we better pray. Let's bow our heads. Father, we thank you that we can be here tonight. And we do thank you that there are people gathered around here and other places who are actually trying to take care of the land that we've inherited. And Father, tonight, we thank you for those who arranged this program. We're asking, Father, that you would bless them for their efforts. And Father, we certainly thank you for this food, and we're asking that you would also bless that, and Father, strengthen our bodies. We're asking all these things in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
We'll go ahead and start moving forward on our election of supervisors as people are kind of finishing up dinner. The district nominating committee included Kathy Becker, Scott McCarty, and myself. Thank you to Kathy and Scott for your participation. The Soil and Water Board includes 5 supervisors, of which 2 are appointed and 3 are elected. Both appointed and elected supervisors serve staggered 3-year terms. However, this year is a little different. Brad Beal's 3-year elected term is up, but last year Bill Brown was elected for a temporary 1-year term. Due to that, we are electing 2 supervisors tonight. The candidate that receives the most votes will fill the 3-year term. The candidate with the second most votes will serve a 2-year term to complete the 3-year rotation. Kathy Becker has accepted another 3-year appointed term and will also be taking the oath of office tonight. The Indiana district law requires to be able to hold the position of an elected supervisor states that the individual must be an occupier of a tract of land located within the district and must maintain permanent residence within the district. Candidates placed on the ballot by the nominating committee include, and if you could please stand when I call your name, Brad Beal, Bill Brown, Jason Ward, and David Williamson. If you could all please stand, thank you. Excellent. And now, are there any nominations from the floor? Seeing that there are no nominations from the floor, I declare the nominations closed. Now, let's get on with the voting. To be eligible to vote for a supervisor, you must be an individual of voting age or a representative of a firm, company, or corporation that owns or rents land or property located within the district or county. Eligible individuals also include the owner and tenant of the same land or property, as well as the owner's or tenant's spouse. Voting will be conducted on the ballot in front of you. Is there anyone who did not receive a ballot? I'll hold up the ballot sheet so you can all see. Let's see. Now, at this time, please mark your ballot and pass them down the tables to the far end. Now, make sure you vote for one candidate. Only mark the ballot once, and we'll tally them up. So you're only voting for one candidate, keeping in mind that the candidate with the largest numbers of votes will be serving a 3-year term, and the candidate with the second largest number of votes will be serving a 2-year term. And then when you've completed the ballot, please send it down to the far end of the table. Kathy and Scott are collecting, and they'll be counting ballots. And the report of the election will be announced after the Wayne County Barn Inventory presentation. Okay, as soon as this is complete, we'll begin with the presentation of awards. Okay, Kathy, Scott, do you have all the ballots? Any other remaining ballots? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and get started with the presentation of awards. Every year, the district recognizes individuals and sometimes organizations that make efforts in promoting and educating the public and implementing best management practices that further the cause of soil and water conservation in Wayne County. Our award sponsors are Schrader Real Estate and Auction Company, Harvest Land Co-op, Greens Fork Alignment and Service, and Farm Credit Mid-America. If we could give a hand to these sponsors. Thank you, and I will now ask Luann Haliva, District Conservation Education Coordinator, to begin the presentation of awards.
Good evening. The Wayne County Soil and Water Conservation District is pleased to honor Quentin and Ruth Williamson, Chester and Jean Sanders, Aileen Githens, and Darlene Mogerly with the 2019 Conservation Merit Award, sponsored by Wayne County SWCD. Would Quentin, Ruth, Chester, Jean, Aileen's daughter Sharon, and Darlene please make your way towards the podium, along with Kathy Becker, Wayne County SWCD Vice Chairman, to present the awards. Kayla's going to present the awards this year. The Conservation Merit Award is given yearly to deserving recipients who demonstrate the ability to go above and beyond by assisting the SWCD in promoting soil and water conservation. We would like to recognize Quentin, Ruth, Chester, Jean, Aileen, and Darlene for supporting the Soil and Water Conservation District for their past efforts in volunteering and helping with the district's annual conservation days for our local 3rd and 4th grade students. As many of you know, conservation days would not be possible without the help of volunteers during the pre-preparations, setup, tear down, and of course 2 days where there are about 500 students and their teachers in attendance each day. Events this large and spread between 2 buildings takes a lot of extra hands and patience to make it a success. Besides this event, some of these wonderful folks have also assisted in the past with workshops, field days, clinics, meetings, and summer conservation trips. We appreciate all the help and support that Quentin, Ruth, Chester, Jean, Aileen, and Darlene have given to the Soil and Water Conservation District through the years in our efforts to give future leaders of Wayne County the opportunity to learn about agriculture, natural resources, safety, and more outside of the classroom and from members of our community. Teachers tell me each year that this is their favorite field trip to bring their students to experience. Please help me congratulate Quentin, Ruth, Chester, Jean, Aileen, and Darlene, our 2019 Conservation Merit Award winners. Thank you. It is an honor to present the 2019 4-H Conservation Achievement Award to Alex Logue. Would Alex please come forward for the presentation at this time, along with SWCD board member Bill Brown? Alex is the son of Jeff and Becky Logue of Richmond. He is a 7-year member of the Boston Clever Clovers and the Hoosier Horsemen 4-H clubs and is a freshman in high school. Alex's 2019 soil and water project titled Working Water, My Hydroponics System received overall grand champion at the Wayne County Fair and went on to the state fair where he received a blue ribbon. Alex built his hydroponic system and successfully grew romaine lettuce, kale, basil, and spinach during the summer. In addition to this project, Alex also shows horses and pigs at the Wayne County Fair. He was dressage champion in his division and won some classes with his pigs. Besides showing animals, Alex enjoys the outdoors, trail riding with his horse, camping, kayaking, and beekeeping. The Wayne County Soil and Water Conservation District is proud to present Alex with the 4-H Conservation Achievement Award for his 4-H accomplishments. Congratulations, Alex. The Wayne County Soil and Water Conservation District would like to recognize Dwayne and Joyce Ann Hill and Mark and Sharon Thomas as the 2019 Conservation Award recipients. Would Dwayne, Joyce Ann, Mark, and Sharon please come forward at this time, along with Scott McCarty, Wayne County SWCD board member, on behalf of Harvest Land Co-op to present the awards. Dwayne, Joyce Ann, Mark, and Sharon have been involved in and supportive of conservation days for many years. Since before I started working for the district, the Hills and the Thomases were doing dairy presentations for conservation days with cows and calves from their farms. One year they were able to get NOLA from the American Dairy Association of Indiana to use in their presentation. NOLA demonstrated how the milk was collected from the cow on the modern farm. Wayne County Dairy Extension has also donated to Conservation Days, helping to make sure students get the experience of learning where their food comes from before reaching the grocery store's coolers and shelves. During the presentations, the Hills and Thomases always worked well together, like a well-oiled machine. Conservation Days makes for long days and lots of speaking. Working as a team helped to save everyone's voices, which those of you who have presented by yourself understand. The presentation station and demonstrations they did were always eye-opening and imagination-catching. Students were also always interested in petting the cows and calves they brought. This hands-on experience helps them feel what a milk cow's coat is like, as well as helping to tie the whole learning experience together from the cow to the carton of milk they would have at lunch. Thank you again for all you have done over the years. We congratulate Dwayne and Joyce Ann Hill and Mark and Sharon Thomas on receiving the 2019 Conservation Education Award. Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce the top soils judging team in Wayne County for 2019. Would the team from Lincoln High School, Western Wayne FFA, and Coach Caitlin Lacey please make their way forward, along with the SWCD supervisor. Is Kathy back up here? Kathy Becker? Okay. Kayla's going to present the awards to the students on behalf of our sponsor, Schrader Real Estate. Alex Hokey is a junior. He is active in 4-H and FFA, showing beef, cattle, and swine during the 4-H fair. In school, Alex participates in football, baseball, wrestling, and Business Professionals of America. In FFA, Alex competes in soils judging, livestock judging, dairy judging, and district leadership events. He is currently serving as chapter president. Ashley Wampler is a junior involved in 4-H and FFA, accomplishing Supreme Showman during the 2018 Wayne County 4-H Fair. When not busy showing livestock, she participates in tennis, Fellowship of Christian Athletes and Business Professionals of America. In FFA, Ashley competes in soils judging, livestock judging, and district leadership events. She is currently serving as the chapter's vice president and is District 9 treasurer. Quentin Caldwell is a junior. He participates in FFA and BPA. In FFA, he competes in soils judging, livestock judging, parliamentary procedure, and district leadership contest. He is also a member of the National Honor Society. Delaney Russell is a junior. She participates in FFA and 4-H, where she shows horses in 4-H. In school, she is a 3-sport athlete involved in volleyball, basketball, and track. In FFA, Delaney participates in horse judging, dairy judging, soil judging, and district leadership events, and serves as the chapter secretary. Please give a round of applause for the 2019 top Wayne County Soils team, Western Wayne FFA. Thank you.
All right, well, good evening. At this time, with David Williamson of David Williamson and Dad Farms, please come forward along with SWCD Supervisor Bill Brown for presentation of the 2019 River Friendly Farmer Award. David Williamson and Dad Farms of Wayne County was one of 47 farmers who received the statewide award of River Friendly Farmer at the Indiana State Fair on Farmers Day, August 14th, 2019. This award, hosted by the Indiana Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts, recognizes landowners and farmers in the state of Indiana for the work that they do on their land to protect Indiana's natural resources. David Williamson and Dad was nominated by the Wayne County Soil and Water District, and we are honored to present his sign to him tonight. David Williamson and Dad Farms raise corn and soybeans along the Westbrook and Green Fork rivers. David has been 100% no-till since 1982 and utilizes cover crops, drift-reducing nozzles, GPS spray application. He maintains over 6 acres of grassed waterways, 46 acres of woodlands, and almost an acre of pollinator habitat. I like my farm, says David, and by utilizing sound conservation practices over the years, his organic matter has greatly increased. he sees less compaction and can still use older farm work or equipment to do the farm work. He states he would not have made it through the 1980s farming if he wasn't already utilizing no-till. When he was asked the greatest benefit he sees from his conservation practices, he responded, "Oh my, the water isn't brown anymore." So clean runoff, less erosion, and more nitrogen. He's estimated before no-till he was losing 35 ton to the acre per year. And after utilizing the no-till, he's down to about 2 ton to the acre per year loss. So David, it's our honor to award you with this, and please help me congratulate David Williamson of David Williamson and Dad Farms for his diligent work on the farm that helps keep our rivers and streams healthy in Wayne County and beyond. Okay, at this time, the 2019 Goodyear Conservation Award goes to Dwayne Crownover, who is last year's recipient of the Conservation Farmer of the Year Award. At this time, would Dwayne, along with Joe Nocton of Greens Fork Alignment, who is sponsoring the award, please come forward. Dwayne began his farming career in 1975, straight out of high school, and is a fourth-generation farmer in the Crownover family, currently farming around 1,300 acres, which all are no-tilled. Dwayne has implemented no-till, cover crops, filter strips, waterways, diversion, grid sampling, variable rate seeding, nitrogen, fertilizer, and grade stabilization structures into his farming operation. By utilizing the above-mentioned conservation practices, Dwayne has experienced improved water infiltration and has slowed runoff with his cover crops and waterways. Better soil health has positively impacted his farm economics. Greens Fork Alignment and the Wayne County SWCD would like to congratulate Dwayne for his accomplishments in conserving our natural resources. Also, the Wayne County SWCD would like to recognize Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company and Greens Fork Alignment for your continued commitment to natural resources by their sponsorship. Please join me in congratulating Dwayne, the 2019 Goodyear Conservation Award recipient. Dwayne, don't go anywhere yet. Hold on. We've got one more for you. All right, at this time, if Stephen Hayes would come up to present award, we would also like to recognize Dwayne and present a certificate to him in honor of the Indiana Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. The Soil and Water District submitted an application to our state association nominating Dwayne this past year for Indiana State Farmer of the Year. While the district was notified the judges had a real challenge in choosing a winner this year, they felt that the application was good enough to receive an honorable mention and that it was appropriate to give him the certificate. So we would like to again thank Dwayne for his conservation work and provide him with the certificate from the I8SWCD. So Dwayne, congratulations. All right, and last but certainly not least, since 1959, the Conservation Farmer of the Year Award has honored those individuals whose farming operations make the commitment to apply and utilize sound conservation practices to the land and beyond. The Wayne County SWC Board and staff determines the winner each year, being selected from many well-deserving candidates. Tonight's recipient of the 2019 Conservation Farmer of the Year is Harold Routson. At this time, would Harold please come forward to receive his award, along with Kristen Ward and Julie Berger from Farm Credit Mid-America to do the presentation. Harold began his farming career in the early 1970s and currently farms around 500 acres, which are no-tilled. Harold utilizes cover crops, grass waterways, erosion control structures, tile drainage, and crop rotations throughout his land, among other conservation practices. Harold's commitment to conservation reaches well beyond the land, as he served on the Soil and Water Board from 2002 to 2011, where he served as our board chairman and used his wise conservation voice to pass along his knowledge of the county and its people. Harold is known throughout the community as a conservation leader. In 2002, he was featured in the Indiana Prairie Farmer as a leader in conservation. Also during his time on the SWCD board, Harold was awarded the North Southeast Region Outstanding Supervisor in 2008, not only to his commitment to conservation, but his commitment to the Soil and Water District. Other community activities has kept Harold busy as well, where he has or is serving on the Wayne County Plan Commission and Board Zoning of Appeals, and was also a 4-H leader. He is a member of Wayne County Farm Bureau, where he has served as chairman and past chairman of the Wayne County Chamber of Ag Business Committee. He was also instrumental as a member of the Middle Fork Watershed Steering Committee and the Whitewater River Watershed Initiative Steering Committees for the Soil and Water's previous watershed grants. Harold is still actively farming and remains committed to no-till and installing conservation practices where needed on his lands, oftentimes without cost share assistance, but just doing the right thing for his ground. It is obvious when pulling into his homestead the commitment that Harold's had to conservation and maintaining a tidy farmstead. Harold's service to the Wayne County Soil and Water District, his pride and care of the land and community involvement exemplifies his conservation ethic and makes him well-deserving to receive the 2019 Conservation Farmer of the Year. So Harold, congratulations. Please join me in congratulating Harold. Thank you.
All right. So I'm pleased to announce our guest speakers for this evening. We got Ed Pollock and Gunty Adkins of the Wayne County Resource Inventory Council. They have been recording barn preservation here in Wayne County along with Ron Hoover for 6 to 7 years. So please join me as we welcome Ed and Gunty.
We appreciate the invitation to participate tonight in the program and talk about some of the work we've been doing with the with the Wayne County Resource Inventory Council and our barn project. You have at your table, if you came in, should be a brochure. It says Wayne County, Indiana on it. The mission of the County Resource Council is stated there, and this explains what we're all about. I would urge you to look at the bottom, look at our website address. We're going to talk about a few barns here tonight, but to access the rest of them, you're going to need to access that, use that email address and get the rest of those 726 barns. A couple of other things that we're doing right quick. Open your brochure and see under resource maps, it shows that the topics of the maps that we have available pertaining to Wayne County. And the other thing, the Indiana High Point is in Wayne County, and we work with the property owner to take care of that, keep it cleaned up and fixed up, so we stay pretty busy. Gunty Atkins and Ron Hoover both are on the Resource Inventory Council. I started doing this survey after we decided we were going to do it. I figured I'd find 100 barns. So far, we're up to 726 and still counting. After Ron Hoover came along, when I got started, he was interested in what we were doing and helping with it. A lot of phone calls got made, a lot of appointments got made. We had people calling us, wanting to know when we were going to come and take pictures of their barns. As I said, we're up to 726 and still counting. So let's start taking a look at some of them, Gunty. This explains the setup. The Wayne County Resource Inventory Council was created in 1976. Why have a barn inventory? The statement at the bottom, like I said, somebody came to us and suggested we were losing our old barns. At the last count, I think Gunty figured out that since we started, we've lost about 24, either torn down, burnt down, or fell down, one or the other. We've got about 2,800 photographs, and they're on his computer in the county surveyor office. 726 barns so far. Okay. Want to mention a couple of other things before we start. Maury Williamson, who about everybody in the room knows, was a big pusher behind the preservation of Indiana barns. He was the instigator of the Maury Williamson Barn Preservation Grant Fund. They have taken whatever money they've been able to accumulate and have made grants to people in the state to help them preserve their old barns, fix up their old barns. We have one grant made in Wayne County to Jessica House. Her barn's up on, I believe, Sugar Grove Road. And so she did receive one of the barns from the Indiana Barn Foundation. Okay. One other thing I want to mention, there is a Indiana Heritage Barn deduction. If you have a barn which was built before 1950, it is a pin, tenon, mortise joint, and it's still a barn, then you probably are eligible for a Heritage Barn deduction in your total assessed value of your property. If you haven't checked up on this, and several people have, I know, talk to Betty Smith Henson, the assessor's office. She's been working with this quite a while, and she knows what's going on. So if you have a situation like that, you haven't checked on it, check with her.
And it's up to 100% deduction on the property value of the barn itself. And there's really no strings attached to it. I mean, you don't have to preserve it, or you don't have to do anything else to it. The idea is to give the farmers some relief, so it would encourage them, because they're not having an additional cost into the barn. You know, the way land is now, that people want to get every inch of land they can for crops and for value, and so many people are tearing down these barns because they're nothing but a tax burden to them, because they've kind of lost their use because of dairy farming has gone down, and pole barns are easier to build, and they serve the bigger equipment better. So this was the way the state felt that they could do something to help do the work. And so far, 241 barns have been, deductions have been filed here in Wayne County. And a side note, 67 of those we haven't looked at yet, so we got a few more to get around to.
Okay, this is the oldest barn we've run across, and we'll briefly look at it. That's on Oral Meyer's property on North Cambridge Road. And what makes that old, the date I have is 1810. You see the crib type construction. It's got dovetail joints in it, which is a description of barns back that age. The other thing, the rafters in this barn are whole trees. There is no ridge rafter, and the rafters are notched at the top and pinned together with a wooden pin, and that dates back that far.
How it's stayed up all these years, it defies engineering, I guess, you know.
Okay. This is the Ellenberger farm out on Jerry Myers Road. This is, I believe, 1848 barn. There's a plaque up here at the top. You can barely make it out. This is the 4-bay barn. The thing that stands out, these walls are 4 bricks thick. Now, the problem with that barn is it doesn't have a very good roof on it, and probably it's not going to last forever. But that's the Ellenberger farm. Okay. This is a 2.5-story 1855 horse barn on Walther's property out on Wendell Road. I did read someplace that said if you built a barn like that with the decorated windows and all the thick bricks and all that, back at that period of time you were considered to be wealthy. Okay. This barn is the barn as you go through Greens Fork off to the north. It's an 1864 barn. Its claim to fame is right here. That barn is sitting on boulders. It is not cemented. It's strictly sitting on boulders. And I don't think that was before you could get a Purdue engineering degree, so I don't know where they learned it. Now, some of those have had to be repaired, but it's sitting on boulders and there's no cement. These barns are on the Westcott Farm at north side of Centerville. That's a 1900, year 1900 livestock barn, gable roof, cut stone walls, and it's got dormers on both sides. Okay. This is the horse barn on the same property, and it's got a date of, I think, 1890. One thing I might mention, we found out in a hurry, about 75% of the barns we've looked at of the 726 were dairy barns. Everybody had a few cows. Okay. Steve, any comments you want to make on the Hayes Arboretum Barn, 1833? Hand-hewn gable, mortise joints.
Yeah, this is where I work, so if you got questions, you can ask my dad. He's over there.
Okay. If you're want to look at good preserved mortise joints, and you can get up close and take a look at them, there you'll see them. I have a question on this barn. If anybody has some answers, this is Randy Gwynn's barn on, what's the road that's on? Anyway, that's called the circus barn. I haven't found anybody to tell me or define for me why it's called a circus barn. It's raised beams. That's called a gable on a hip roof. And if you look inside, the beams and everything are pretty high. If you were a giraffe, I suppose you could stand up in it. I really don't know why it's called a circus barn. I'd like to find out. This barn is out north of Economy, Dale Kirtley's barn. Last as I saw it in 2014, somebody told me it had been renovated, so last Tuesday I took another look. Looks like Dale's gone, but Dan has fixed that barn up, including the verge boards, which are these scallop boards. That barn's a nice restored barn. And I believe that date on that was 1896. Okay, that's another barn. Dale Kirtley told me he knew about that one. That's the only round barn that I know of that's still standing in Wayne County. That's a 9-pen swine farrowing barn up at the corner of Robinson and Sugar Grove Roads, and Dale told me he knew all about that because he smoked silks in it. That's all I know. This is Wendell Hedges' barn out on Willow Grove Road. That barn has been moved and been restored like it was. He's still doing it. He's even hung the door tracks in the barns like he took them off the old barn. You can see he's got the chandelier hung here from the ceiling on the hay ropes and the wagon wheel. He's still working on it. So this barn is owned by Samuel Lance out on Pleasant Plain Road. He runs the countryside carriage repair business for the Amish, so the barn is full of Amish buggies. This is a 2012 picture, and this one I took not too long ago. It was a dairy barn. Also, you got a two-story hay chute here. As I said, they think it is a mortise tin and pin barn, but it's full of buggies. He takes care of buggies. This is Dr. Hellworth's home up on Massey Road. That's a Pennsylvania 4-bay barn. I've got a date circa 1840 on that. This is before, this is after. The date I have is 1840, and Ron and I had a conference a while ago and decided that was the right date, didn't we, Ron? Okay. This is a home up on Goosehaven Road. It is also a Pennsylvania 4-bay. It is now a home. I understand a pharmacist who works in Cambridge City owns that. That is a Pennsylvania 4-bay barn, a beautiful home. This barn is on Kitterman Road. It says in the literature it is a Schweitzer barn. And supposedly the characteristics of a Schweitzer barn is you've got a bridge here. It's a raised barn and a bridge you get up to get to the main floor. You have a little room there for, quote, horse feed, and on the other side to store your potatoes. The only thing I can figure, and it's also got pent roofs all the way around it, and the only thing I can figure in the literature I've read, the Schweitzer comes from the area of Switzerland where that originated, that structure, plant originated, but that's on Kitterman Road. This is Stewart's barn, as I'm sure everybody knows where it's at, on 38. I've come up with a date on that sometime in the 1860s or 70s, but if you look, it's got a terracotta silo right there. Okay, go inside now.
No, they're over to the
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
These are whole beech logs that are floor joists in that barn. You got hand-hewn timbers, the mortise tenon joints. There is the field stone walls, and more pictures of the whole log floor joist.
What's the diameter, approximate diameter of those? 15, 16 inches?
I would guess some of them are that big, 15, 16 inches. Okay. This is the Allen Barn on State Road 1, just a little east of Hagerstown. There's cut stone walls. It's a dairy barn. We did find, you can see the wall, the field stone walls here. The date shows 1902, I believe, or 9. I think might be a 9, or no, it's a 2. And then an addition was put on it in 1938. And it's a mortise pin tenon barn. This is Roger Casey's barn out on 40 west of town. That predates the Civil War. The house there is about in 1850. The barn is probably about that age. It basically was an English, standard English barn. It's got a closed hay hood. You can see the pins here and the whole logs. Again, you're looking at logs for rafters. No ridge rafter, but it has a wood hay track in it, which means it's pretty old. Okay, this is the old county farm, and I'm quoting what I read in some magazines, barn out west of Centerville. The literature I've got says the house was built in 1846. That barn configuration, according to the people that know, is called a snug Dutch gambrel. Here's the names of some of the people apparently that were commissioners at the time that was done. There's an Albert, Hinman, Hampton, Jackson, and Workings and Son were the architect. This is a picture of the walls, the fieldstone walls, but that's out west of Centerville. And it's got some fancy, it's got pent roofs on it, and it's also got some fancy scallops on it. Okay. I put this one up here because it's the only example we could find in the county. The barn is a Dutch gambrel, but what I wanted to show everybody, that little thing right there is called a Beverly jog, Bevely. On a bigger barn, that would extend out further. You'd park your buggy under the Beverly jog and the horses are in the barn. But I haven't found another one in the county, but that's why we kind of included that one.
Where is that one in?
That is on 40, getting close to Pershing, on the north side. Now, it's surrounded by some houses now, but it was out by itself. Okay, I'm on schedule here now. Okay. This barn belongs to Mike Dorsler, and it's kind of special in a couple of ways. That barn was hauled in on the railroad to Greens Fork and moved up to Fox Road and put up. It is a Sears Roebuck barn. If you look inside, you can see some of the fancy louvers that were in it. You also see where Dorsers have raised the beams in it to get their new equipment in. The other thing it has, that is a transverse frame barn, which simply means that the big wagon doors are on the end and not the sides. But that's a Sears Roebuck barn. Now, believe it or not, there's another Sears Roebuck barn. That is another gambrel roof. This is called a broken gambrel because it comes down off the top and then it makes a turn right there, and it's called a broken gambrel. That barn is on Swollen Road just east of Jacksonburg, yeah. We found this ad we put up there. That's a 1911 ad. That thing's not working too good. For $538, you could get that barn. Now, there's some fine print up there that says they don't supply the labor and the cement blocks. So you could have a 35 by 45 barn for $850. That is a 1911 Sears Roebuck barn. This is a little different. This is a carriage house in Richmond, still standing behind the old Jones Funeral Home. One window was closed, but you had 5 horse stalls in there. This thing, I think, was built in 1902. You could rent space for your horses there, and I assume keep your buggies there. And my note says it was built by Oliver Garr behind his home. Okay. Now, I pulled a fast one. I snuck that in. That barn is in Washington Township, Noble County, Indiana. And that lady that came with me tonight, my wife Nancy, and I own that barn. My granddad built that in 1894. It's a standard English gable barn. It's a mortise, pin and tenon joint. That was the cow stable, and that was the horse stable. It had fieldstone walls under it. Those got replaced about 1950. Now, one of the last added things, right behind that door right there, is my 1948 John Deere B tractor, along with the plow we bought many, many years ago, 214s. Okay. This is Houthworth's barn out on Potter Shop Road. That basically is a raised barn. You can see the cut stone foundations. It's a livestock barn. Its claim to fame, as I read the literature and checked up on it, sometime in 1978, a deputy sheriff was driving by that barn and caught it as it was about to burn down. Obviously, the fire got put out, but there's some souvenirs right there of some burnt beams that survived the fire. And that is it's an 1863 barn.
And that's a rarity, having a barn be saved by.
This barn is on Heiser Station Road. It's a German 4-bay. It's got pent roofs on either end. It's also bridged, and I believe I've got a date of 1855. You can see the fancy louvers. It's got hand-hewn timbers in it, and it's also the pent roof on either end. Okay. If you want to get a close-up of pin, tenon, mortise joints up at the Huddleston house, this barn has just been repainted. It's in pretty good shape. That was the barn that the travelers on the National Road, as I read, stopped to get their wagons repaired and stay over for a day or two before they continued west. This is Don Craig's barn, and I believe that is in 1886. It's a bridged barn. The bridge is right there. It's got pent roofs on either end. You see the louvers. It's on a fieldstone foundation. It's an English barn. Like I said, it's got the scallop decorations here too. Did I see J.B. Kane here? Hello, J.B. That's J.B.'s barn. It's what, I believe in 1899. It's got a terracotta silo on it. And my note says, it's got some sawed timbers in it and some hand hewn. The thing that strikes me about that barn, J.B., don't ever call me to work on that roof. It's pretty steep. This barn is on 227, just leaving Richmond, the north side of town. I've stopped there a couple of times to talk to the owners, and I didn't find anybody. It's obviously been a horse barn. There's the symbol on the barn door. It's got what they call a closed hay hood. It's been well taken care of. New roof and new siding. This is a picture we obtained showing the interior. There's a lot of laminated boards in there. We're a little skeptical about what year that thing, what the age on it might be.
But it's,
You're sure it was there before 1930, so, but the laminated boards kind of throw you for a loss. But it's a horse barn. Okay, is Bob Brown here? Bill is. Is Bob here? This has got a special connotation. Joe Meyer put me up to checking up on this some years ago. This building right here is sitting square with East Chester Road. This building is not. It was purposely built like it is because that is an 11 o'clock barn. I looked on the internet to try to find out definitions of 11 o'clock barns, and all I found is this country's got 11 o'clock taverns in it, but no barns. That picture is taken at 11 o'clock. Now the theory, I guess, is that if the guy out farming in the field watches the barn, he knows it's time to go to lunch. Now on a cloudy day, I don't know what he does. But that's an 11 o'clock barn. This is Charlie Black's barn. We assume that thing's around 1950. It's a round roof. Here's pictures of inside, some of the laminated timber structure in it, but it's been a livestock barn. This is Russ Turner's barn. I stopped and looked at that one time, back in 2012. Russ put an office in there so I guess he could hide out there or something. It's a standard English gable barn. There is a well casing just to the north of it that's got a 1928 date in it, so I guess that puts us pretty close to it. This is Denise Rhett's barn on Carlos Road, just south of the railroad, just southeast of Greens Fork. This is another old barn. You see the boulders here. The boulders on the corner. Look how warped that sill is. It's a hand-hewn mortise pin tenon barn. The house was built in 1817, so I'm assuming the barn is close to it. But it's sitting on boulders. We've got a terracotta silo. Somebody always asking about round barns, so Gunty fished this ad out of the archives. It says the round barn that used to sit at the southwest corner of Round Barn Road in 40 West was built about 1906 or so and was taken out in 1968 or 69, and the church sits there now. I thought at first that was the top of the barn, but it's not. That is labeled as a garage. It doesn't fit anything I got except my bicycle. It's got hand-hewn beams in it, and it's still there. So take it for what it is. Included this barn is about 150 feet into Fayette County. It's McDivitt's barn. Got a porch extension on it. It's still in service. I don't have any more records on it, but it's still in service in McDivitt's barn down in Fayette County. I saw Richard Nicholson a while ago. Where'd you go, Richard? There's your barn, about 1934 or 35. The dairy barn, obviously not anymore. There's the dairy facilities there. Sawed beams, mortise joints, native lumber, 1934, 35. Okay. Dwayne Cates isn't here, so I can't put him on the spot. That is Dwayne, or I guess it's Todd Cates' barn, just east of where Dwayne lives, on Brooks Road. That is a salt box barn. Now, we've been trying to find out where they got the definition of salt box. That barn is located so that the long roof faces the north like it's supposed to, which bears the weather. The high side of it is, quote, faces the south where it's warm. One definition we found, and quote, you may want to check me on this, Gunty. Someplace in the definition we looked up that they made salt box barns in some countries. I think it must have been in Europe, because if you had a two-story barn, you got taxed for a two-story barn. If you had a salt box barn where one side of the roof was only one story up, you didn't get hit with the tax bill. And that's the only reason I can find for the salt box barn. That's what that is a salt box barn. And that's pin-tended mortise joint. That's a livestock barn up on Woodward Road. Ron Hoover and I paced that off, and I believe, Ron, we come up with 125 by 40. It's a four bay barn, livestock barn, still there and still in good shape. Dutch doors, looks evidently had horses, mortise joints, hand-hewn beams in it. This barn was on the literature I saw that you guys posted in advertising the meeting. That's the Gibbons barn right out here on Crow Road. That's an 1888 barn. It's a raised barn, board and batten siding, fieldstone, got a cupola on it. It's a party barn. I guess you can rent it for weddings and all kinds of good stuff. But it's right out here on Crow Road. Richard, you may recognize that one. That's around the corner from you, your son John. That barn, the house there, dates back to the 1820s. I understood that barn has been brought in from maybe a combination of barns, but it's an old one. You can see the whole logs for the rafters. It's sitting on boulders. There's the dovetail joints. There's a picture of the barn. But that barn, I assume it's close to the date of the house, which is 1820s. Now, I'd have one. Gunty's got something he wants to show you. Only got one question I want to finish with. We've looked at a lot of barns. We've obviously not done. We're going to keep going. If anybody has got any questions, or if we've presented any false information this evening, see me after the meeting. We'll straighten it up. But if you got anybody's got a barn you want us to look at, we'll sure go look at it. Okay, Gunty, you're on.
Basically, these are a few of the websites that was noted in the presentation. There's a few cutouts. I've got some forms back there with these written on there in the back table, so if somebody wants to pick them up and look at them. There's the Indiana Barn Foundation. We'd like to make mention that Wayne County Foundation funded the database creation for this project, and the person actually was out in Oregon, and they built the database in the first couple hundred barns they entered into it, and then I've maintained it since then. And then the Heritage Barn Deduction Form, you can see the Wayne County Auditor for that, or you could go to the DLGF website for the state of Indiana, and you could pull that down if you'd like to. And from the Wayne County Resource Inventory Council page, we wanted a way we could distribute these barns for us, and so this is our map that we've created, and you can go to this site and you can click on one of these barns. These are all the barns that we've collected so far, and you can select the barn and you can see a picture of the barn, and it tells a little bit about the the information that we've acquired over the years. So, if you have any questions or anything, that's it.
Look at that email address on the bottom of that RIC brochure you got, because you need to access that to get to the other 700 barns I'm sure you want to look at. Okay, I guess we're done with this.
Great job. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Gunty, Ed, and Ron Hoover. Thank you so much. Now it's time for our election results. And it was very close. Now, first of all, I'll congratulate Jason Ward. You will be serving a 3-year term as a Wayne County Soil and Water Board Supervisor. Also, congratulations to David Williamson. You will be serving a 2-year term as the Wayne County Soil and Water Supervisor. Thank you also to Brad and Bill Brown for your willingness to run for the election. And of course, we hope you stay on as an associate supervisor. At this time, I will ask Debbie Berry, the clerk of courts, to come forward and give the oath of office along with our newly elected supervisors, Jason and David, and Kathy Becker, our appointed supervisor.
Okay, if you'll raise your right hands. Do you, Kathy Becker, Jason Ward, and David Williamson solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Indiana, that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Supervisor of the Wayne County Soil and Water Conservation District upon which you are about to enter? If so, please affirm by saying, "I do."
I do.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Mhm.
Thank you, Debbie.
Okay, at this time, we will have the drawing for our 2 beautiful centerpieces that were provided by Jack Daggy Flowers and a rain barrel provided by the Wayne County SWCD. I don't want to pick. Wait.
Chicken.
Let-
All right, I'll pick.
Okay, Rick Funk. Rick, are you here? All right, so you get your choice of either centerpiece.
Okay.
Next, we got Pat Thomas. Pat, you want us to draw again? Or you want it? All right.
Is that it?
Well, now we got a rain barrel.
Oh, we got the rainbow. Okay. All right.
You just won a centerpiece.
Set those boxes up at the end of the tables, how the recycling papers.
Okay.
Don't forget that.
All right, this is for the rain barrel. Northeastern FFA Anna Drake. Luann, where's the rain barrel hiding? All the way back there? Okay, we want pictures when it gets installed. Okay. Again, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us tonight, and a special thank you to our generous donors for their support and making this evening a success. I ask that you please drop your unwanted programs in the recycle bins at the end of your tables on the way out. Safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. Thank you.